mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about Season 1, Episode 7 of Apple TV's Severance, entitled Defiant Jazz. The title refers to Helly R's gift that she gets for reaching 75% refinement, which she didn't actually reach. She was only at 73%, but this allows Milchick to give them a 5-minute dance party. And a scene that's actually pretty cool. Helly chooses Defiant Jazz as the music that they play, and Milchick has a button that turns on like flashing red lights and purple lights and all this cool stuff, and he's dancing and he's getting it in, man. Milchick's really dancing, man. It's actually a pretty cool scene in the middle of an episode that was actually pretty heavy on drama, but they dance. Mark discovers in his pocket during the dance party Grainer's key card, which he kept on his person when he got to work. And they use that key card to do some exploring. But before we get to that, I want to start with talking about Milchick even doing this dance party in the first place. Milchick comes up with these ideas to, I think, keep people happy as a way of making sure that they keep secret the knowledge that they have. Bert knows that Dylan snuck a key card out, so I think that Bert's retirement party is a combination of forced retirement, possibly, but also a punishment, but also like a bribe, I think, to keep him quiet, to make sure that he doesn't give up any information about what happened with this card that Dylan took. And then I think the dance party is also done to kind of help placate MDR, to make sure that they don't talk about what they know, which when I say they, we're mainly referring to Dylan, who now, as we know last week, knows about his Audi and his son and all that good stuff. So I think Milchick does a good job of balancing like something pleasant, but also in sort of a negative light, as like almost like a bribe to kind of like make sure that they keep things quiet, because things have gotten completely out of hand. And I think a lot of this is unbeknownst to Coble. So we spend a lot of this time, a lot of this episode in 3 different places. We spend it with Mark, we spend it with Irv, and we spend it with Dylan. And we're starting with Mark. Mark goes with, what was her name, Ragabi, to the school. Grainer shows up, as we knew that Grainer was on his tail. Grainer shows up, and Ragabi kills Grainer, takes his key card, and gives it to Mark. So now Mark has unfettered access to not even MDR, to the entire severed floor. We find out also that Dylan is not handling very well his revelation that he has a kid. He's sitting there seething. This dance party is not working for him at all. He's pissed off the whole time. I love the shot of Milchick dancing almost tauntingly behind Dylan, and it's shown as a reflection in Dylan's computer screen. I thought that was a really cool shot. And Dylan loses his shit and bites Milchick on the arm. Milchick's having a rough day too, if we're being honest. And Irv wants to know if there's been any fallout from their visit to O&D. So he wants to get back to O&D and see Bert. And he gets there and he finds out that Bert's retiring, which is devastating for him, because Bert retiring means that his innie is no longer going to be there. So that's essentially, like you said, you're all just gonna let him die. That's essentially the end of Bert within this company for Irv, and that pushes Irv over the edge to decide that he wants to help everyone else with, I guess, taking down Lumen. So that's where we kind of ended up with our main characters in this episode. But there are a few other things I want to talk about as well. Regarding Mark, he has a whole situation with well, I can't say her name because my Amazon device will light up and start listening to me. But the black lady that is the doula for Mark's sister, whose name I can't say her name, but she discovers that Mark's been out for an hour, which the whole not for an hour, she'd been awake for an hour and Mark had been gone. But she discovers that Mark was off. We know that Mark was meeting with Ragabi to do this to learn about whatever happened to Petey. And he lies to her about where he was and makes it about his wife. He's like, I'm gonna, I've been struggling dealing with her being gone. This is a lot for me. He doesn't say this directly, but this is what he implies, that this relationship with the name I can't say is a struggle for him, as it pertains to getting over his wife. She doesn't just leave. He essentially asks her to go, but in a very cowardly fashion. She says, "Should I leave?" The correct answer is no, but if you actually want her to leave, the other correct answer is yes, and Mark gives neither answer and says maybe, which is a spineless version of yes. So I can imagine that would not go over well with her. She later returns to pick up her phone, which I guess she left at Mark's house, and in dramatic fashion, since he's drunk, Mark tears up a picture of his wife. She doesn't buy it. She leaves anyway. Mark tapes the picture back together, and we see that Mark's wife, Gemma, is actually Miss Casey from work, the one that is the wellness counselor. So there's a whole lot of questions to come from that. One, how is she not dead? Because I think we were meant to assume that she died in a car accident because he went to go visit that one site with the smashed in wall alongside the highway. Maybe she didn't die from this or whatever, but Mark thinks she's dead and she's clearly not, and they have obviously no idea who each other is within Lumen. So I think that's going to be a really interesting thing to play out, to find out what happened to her, why she's still around, what's up with her Audi. Is her Audi alive and well and wandering around and did this on purpose to not have to go back to Mark? Is her Audi unconscious? Is her Audi dead, but you can create an any? I don't know. I doubt you can create an any with no Audi, but a lot of questions revolving around Miss Casey and her outside life and why Mark thinks she's dead, but she's actually not. So this episode, I think, too, did a really great job of kind of fixing where I think it started to go wrong. Episodes, I think 1 and 2 were pretty intriguing. They really helped to build out this world and help us understand these characters and the world that they live in, with the severed floors and all the scenery, just really immersing us in this world. But I feel like in the past couple episodes, the show started to kind of lag. It needed to progress a little bit more with the story, and it kept presenting more and more questions and not really taking us anywhere. I'm not interesting, but not taking us anywhere useful. And I think this episode really made up for that by really kind of propelling things forward quite a bit. Coble finds out that Grainer died, and she ends up asking for an in-person meeting with the board, which they agree to. I think that's going to be an interesting reveal. Who all is on the board? Is this going to be faces that we recognize? Is it going to be I don't know. I can't even hypothesize about some of these things because they're so I don't want to say ridiculous, but there's just so many different options, wild options about who these people could be. As we're going through the reveal of Mark's wife's picture, it's I knew that they went out of their way to not show her, and you could tell by the way this scene was shot that they were going to do it, that they were going to make it some sort of big reveal. So I knew it was going to be somebody important. But that's one of the many things that they did in this episode that really propelled it forward. We still need to know what's up with Dylan. He's intent on leaving, but Dylan's information, he does share it with everyone. He lets them know that they have some way of bringing people talking to people's innies while they're outside. He reveals this to everyone else, but it's also because Milchick revealed it to him, which I thought was a little interesting. But again, this all ties into the idea of he wanted to essentially bribe them to be quiet without it getting back to Coble. So Dylan reveals this to everyone else. Milchick had told him it was something called overtime contingency or something like that. They use the key card that Mark discovered in his pocket during the party to go to the security office, which is not manned, which if Grainer is the only security and there's so few people, why would you need more than one? But if Grainer was the only security and he's now dead, there's no one in that room to monitor the cameras anyway. So they go in there. While they're there, they being Helly and Mark, while they're in there, they see that Coble has arrived at work, so they bail, but only after Helly takes a page out of the manual that explains this whole procedure for the overtime contingency or whatever, how they can do that. So they take that back. Then they come up with a plan to essentially come back after work and I don't know, I guess meet or talk with all of their Audis or only some of them. I don't know, but Irv is in after the whole situation with Bert. I'm really interested to see it's they're gonna turn Irv. They're gonna go to Irv's Audi and we're gonna find out that like I said, him and Bert live together or some shit, or they used to date or something like that. So I think once they start interacting with their outies, we're gonna get a whole lot of really interesting and useful information. So yeah, this was a really interesting episode. Like, I loved the reviews that we got, the information we got, the way it took a sharp turn into moving toward a world where they try to take down Lumen. I love the reveals that we got with the wife. Dylan's change of heart, Irv's change of heart. I thought the dance scene was cool. I thought the scene where with Bert's retirement was cool. Yeah, that's right. Before I wrap, I gotta tell you, my favorite scene of the episode is Bert's video to his Annie and his coworkers. Like, this was like classic Christopher Walken hilariousness with this completely dry. You know what it reminded me? It reminded me of his scene in Pulp Fiction where he's explaining his watch to Butch. If you've seen Pulp Fiction, you know this scene. Bert's video reminded me of that scene in Pulp Fiction. It's like he's trying to be nice, like, oh, I appreciate it, but then he's constantly reminding them that he has no idea who they are. Like, even though I have no idea of any of your names, what you look like, how many of you there are. It's such a hilarious scene because he just keeps going, and it's like, compliment, a whole bunch of ways, a whole bunch of reminders that I have no idea who you are. Compliment, a whole bunch of reminders that I have no idea who you are. Like, I just love how well-meaning but ridiculous that video was. That was easily my favorite part of the episode. I thought the dance scene was really cool too, but yeah, that shit was hilarious, man. So it looks like the show is really taking a turn toward providing a little bit more information so we can know really where we're going in these final 3 episodes. And it looks like we're working toward taking down Lumen, and now questions are starting to be answered, paths are starting to become clear, and it looks like we're in for a pretty explosive final 3 episodes. So I'm looking forward to those, and I will see you guys next week for episode 8. Peace.